Hello, Oracles. Well, right now we are seeing the best Tesla stock buying opportunity in over 2 years. Many newer Tesla investors, including myself, look back and wish we had purchased more Tesla stock during the COVID crash. Of course, nobody knew what was going on at the time. We made the best decisions that we could with the information that we had. Some people did very well. Some people, like Alexandra, said that time right there was the time where she decided it is time to go all in on Tesla stock. Many others had decided the exact same thing, and guess what? All of them are doing extremely well right now. Now, a lot of us look back and say, dang, I wish I had known about the stock. I wish I had invested more in the stock back then, but we did not. Right now, based upon the growth of the company that we have seen over the last 2 years, this pullback that we're getting right now is the best buying opportunity that we have had since that COVID crash. So for me, this is why I am buying even more. I'll be adding heavier the more we dip. As of the time of this recording, we're down another 2% from where we ended on Friday. So again, further pullbacks. The RSI is at 27. We had discussed this previously. That is oversold. I am expecting a rebound, but don't forget last year when we had the Hertz news, we got great Q3 numbers. We had seen the stock and the RSI climb up over 90. Over 70 is overbought. So just because we're under 30 does not mean we need to turn around immediately. We could pull back further. Looks like the entire market, all of the indices, everything is pulling back. We got a hotter than expected jobs report on Friday. Unemployment actually came down, which in most cases you would think is a good thing. But when we're in the situation we're in right now with a hot jobs market, the Fed is kind of looking for a little bit more unemployment just to try and kind of balance things off. Before we get into things, I want to welcome the two newest members to the channel. We've got the Stonks Market and Gene Tompkins. Thank you both so much for becoming members of this channel. If anyone is interested in becoming a member, that link is down in the pinned comment below. And I share over there all my price targets, my production and delivery forecast, my valuation model, and a lot of other exclusive videos for you guys to show you where I come up with all of these levels that I find in the charts to come up with what stock price I want to purchase at. And this week we also get the CPI and PPI data coming in. As of right now, the CPI expectations are 8.1%. Those were the same expectations we had last month, but last month we came in at 8.3%. Personally, I would like to see us in the 7 range, so if we can get to that number, I think that will be good for the market. Who knows, sometimes we see turnarounds in the market for the most random things, and maybe this time around we get a really good CPI number, which will then help the market believe that the Fed is going to be maybe a little bit more dovish and not as hawkish as they were because inflation is coming down. So perhaps that is going to lead to a little bit of a rally. But then we also have the midterm elections that are going on, we have talks of nuclear war that are going on, and we have OPEC is going to be cutting 2 million barrels per day of production come November. That's another thing that could in turn raise inflation. We have energy fears going on over in Europe, and if OPEC is going to be cutting oil production and the natural gas pipeline is down, we've got some energy issues going on. There's a lot of crazy uncertainty and FUD going on in the market right now, and a lot of it's not just FUD, it's real and legitimate things to be concerned and worried about. So who knows where the market is going to move at this point, but looking at the charts, looking at the data, looking at history, and the fact that we've had major FUD situations like this, and all of a sudden everything just magically turns around. You know, these things can happen. So again, I do wish that they just magically turn around. I don't know what's going to help this, but where we're at right now, I still want to be a buyer. And while I know many of us out there, it's like, it's hard to see the stock being as red as it is. It's hard seeing the stock pulling down this far. It's thinking, when are we finally going to turn around? Is this really it? How much further down are we going to go? Just ask yourself the questions, look back at your own investing history and say, were there ever times with Tesla stock where you said, man, I wish I had bought more when it was down at this level? Just ask yourself that. I know I have been in that situation going, man, I wish I had bought more when it was at this level. Well, this is that level. This is that level that you're looking at. Maybe we do pull down further. This is why I don't just dump all of my money in all at once. I try to just balance things off accordingly. You know, our next level of support down is going to be at that $213 to $215 level. Below that is 207, which is the lows of the year when we hit 621 pre-split. So these are the levels I'm watching below us. Those are the levels that I will be adding heavier as we pull back if we do end up pulling back even further. So again, just things that I'm paying attention to, but this is why a lot of the bulls that are out there are excited for times like these because we can buy more. And I know not everyone can. I know some people cannot buy fractionally. I know some people only have a certain amount of money that they can invest and they only have it coming in at a certain time. So we all have to work with our own strategies at the time that we can. So this is just why all year long I've been talking about just that. You've got to figure out your own strategy to be able to dollar cost average, because historically dollar cost averaging is the best way to invest to build your wealth in the future. So whatever strategy you come up with, maybe it's every Friday you buy, maybe it's once a month on the 1st or 15th of the month, whatever it is for you guys, depending on what strategy you have for your own finances, that to me would be the best way. Again, not financial advice, but if you guys are looking to add more at these levels, that to me would be a strategy to come up with. So now going into some of the buyback talk that we have been discussing over the weekend, just to answer a few of the questions that you guys have had over there, some of the discussions that we had, because I was going off of, things that Alexandra had said. She had a whole huge article. I will post a link to that down in the description as well, breaking down the buybacks, why they're good, why we should do it now. And so one of the big questions is, well, we would rather Tesla invest that money in R&D and future growth of the company. So here's a couple of things behind that. One, the money that they would be using for the buyback would be in excess of all of that. So they already have their budget set for their capex spending and for R&D. So that money is out there. So any extra money that they have coming in outside of that is free cash to use for whatever, and they're either going to put it in a giant stockpile of the 18+ billion that they already have, or they can reinvest it into the company. Now, let's say for instance, we're going to use just rough numbers. If they decide $1 billion into buybacks, well, they buy back $1 billion worth of stock. Now, all of a sudden, this encourages many other institutions out there, now that Tesla is investment grade rating, to then invest $2 billion back into the company, which they would not have done otherwise if Tesla did not do the buyback. So Tesla spends $1 billion on the buyback, cleans up the stock dilution a little bit, makes all of our shares worth even more. Then they get $2 billion in return by other companies and institutions investing in them. So to me, this would be a win-win situation where they cut down on the dilution of the stock and actually get a net gain of $1 billion to use in investment money to further grow the company in the future. So that's the way I look at it from that standpoint. So again, the money that they're using isn't money that they're like deciding, hey, do we want to spend money on growth and R&D, or do we want to spend money on buybacks? They literally have enough money to do both. And so that is where their thinking is right now. Another thing they could do is a bond issuance. This is what Apple has been doing since 2013. They go out there and say they're going to take $1 billion worth of bonds, then they're going to take that money from the bonds, and then they're going to do a buyback with that money. So it all keeps it in the same place, and they get this money, they do the buyback, they thin out the stock. So the dilution of the stock is important as well, because when they have the employee stock purchase plan, which is the wave we had just gone through because they do it twice a year between September and October, and then I believe it's between March and April. So they do those 2 windows of time where they have the employee stock purchase plan going out there. All the shares that go out during that dilutes the stock. So when they do a buyback, they will clean up a lot of that dilution, which in turn brings the share price back to where it should have been prior to the employee stock purchase plan. And now another funny thought that I had was, Leo Kogawan, who is the 3rd largest individual shareholder of Tesla stock, had mentioned that Tesla should do $5 billion in buybacks this year and $10 billion next year based upon the free cash flow that he sees coming in. So now my thoughts are, well, $5 billion is about how much Elon needs to sell in Tesla stock as well to buy this Twitter based upon the information that we know. So maybe Tesla just buys Elon's shares, balances that all off. We don't see any notice whatsoever in Elon selling, and then we are going to have the dilution get cleaned up as well at the same time. Win-win for everyone. Well, win-win for anyone who thinks that Elon should be buying Twitter, but that's a totally different discussion. But either way, the buybacks themselves are a very good thing for the company and don't have to be done by companies that are just mature companies. They can be done by companies like a Tesla who is still growing. Think about how Apple grew still after 2013. There was massive growth there on top of it, so it's not like they stopped. Tesla is just in a stronger position to grow even more and higher percentage growths over the next couple of years than Apple was at that point. And of course, one of the other arguments is, well, if they do have it in their cash stockpile, it's not a bad thing either because of the fact that, right now, at least for my personal portfolio, cash actually is a better place to have my money than invested, just because we have been fluctuating up and down. This is why I continue to put money in, but I also hold that cash on the side. That's a very similar strategy to what Tesla has. They have their free cash flow coming in, they have that cash that's already getting pumped back into the company, then they have that cash pile on the side, and then they have that extra cash to do other things with. And so for me, that is that extra cash where I'm like, all right, well, I've got my cash pile. What do I do with the extra? I could put it into my QYLD for dividend returns. I could put some into Tesla stock as well and just increase my dollar cost averaging, which is what I did. And we did see capex spending actually get bumped up over the course of this year. But don't forget, prices for a lot of goods and materials right now are extremely high. So spending that money on further materials doesn't make sense either. Adding more to the cash pile reserve may not be a bad thing either, but they've been kind of sitting around that $18 billion cash lot for quite a while now, so I kind of think that's the place they want to sit at for whatever reason, not really sure why, but that seems to be the level they want to be sitting at the moment. So again, this is just that extra cash that they could be doing something with. And honestly, I mean, using it for buybacks to me is okay because obviously it's going to do well for the share price. It's going to encourage more institutional investors to get in. Don't forget, institutional holdings in the stock are probably around the low 30% right now versus Apple and Microsoft and those bigger companies being around the 89 to 90% mark. So there's a lot of institutional investments that have not come into the stock yet. So having them be able to come in with a buyback incentive would be huge because that would then drive the price up even higher. And that is a lot of big money. Again, we have been seeing lower volumes in the stock because a lot of institutions have been taking their money out and putting it into bonds. So to have all of this massive big money coming in, and don't forget that these institutions are not day traders. They're not swing traders. They're not going to be selling in and out of the stock. They're going to be buying it and holding it for a long period of time. So that's going to give us a much stronger foundation and flooring for when it comes to the stock price itself when they do come in. So if I can buy these stock prices below that floor level that these institutions are going to be getting in at, that is where I want to have my money. So again, we don't know where the stock price is going to be going in the future. I just know that I love these prices right now. The three questions I ask everyone when they ask me, is this a good price to buy at? I ask three things. One, what is your long-term horizon on the stock? How long do you plan on holding it for? Two, what is your price target for that time horizon? So for instance, if you say you want to hold it for 10 years, what do you think the price target is going to be and the stock price will be at that time in 10 years? Now, based upon those two numbers, at the price we are at right now, do you think that that will be a good return on your investment? If the answer is yes, then clearly the answer is also yes to purchase right now. Now, of course, we also have the swings that go up and down, so emotionally, you need to prepare yourself for the fact that if you buy now, maybe the stock price does come down further, but you have to look at your long-term thesis. If long-term thesis is going to be out there, maybe it's a 10x in the next 10 years, then a little bit of a stock pullback right now, it's going to happen. You're going to have fluctuations over time. And as Alexandra had mentioned, when we get more institutions coming in, that's going to lower the beta down and in turn lower the volatility of the stock. So it will be easier to be a long-term holder of Tesla stock down the road as time goes on. And so for me, my long-term thesis for Tesla stock is over a 10x over the next 10 years. I love these stock prices that we are at right now. I love that return. So for me, I am a buyer at these prices and I will continue my dollar cost average, and I'll add more as we hit those levels at that 213 to 215 level and at that 207 level if we do end up pulling down there. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How do you guys feel about this? Have you been utilizing this as a buying opportunity? Hearing about a lot of buys from all of you guys coming in. Do you guys have a dollar cost average? And again, for me, because I can buy fractionally, it is easier. But from around the world, let me know what your guys' strategies are. For those of you who cannot do fractional trading, for those of you who don't have the same cash flow generation coming in, so you've got to do some sort of other strategy. Some of your strategies, and again, it's going to be no financial advice to anyone, but perhaps there's someone else in your similar situation who can utilize some of what you are doing to help them build their portfolio stronger. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support and feedback. If you have not subscribed, please do so down below. Sign yourself up for notifications. If you found value in this video, please consider sharing it with others. We do have a membership program. That link is down in the description below. I am over on Twitter at OracleTim1. I share all the latest Tesla news, pertinent stock market information, and all of my daily trades. We do have a Discord chat. That link is down in the description. And if you'd like to support the channel any further, we do have a Patreon. That link is also in the description. Thank you so much. Have a great one.